I still don't know why I survived. Maybe I just got lucky. The doctors say I have post-traumatic stress disorder. They're pumping me full of pills that make the world swim like I'm walking through jello. But they don't understand. Nobody understands. I saw something no one should ever see and remain sane. My name is Elijah. I'm 22 years old, and I'm the only one who walked out of Bog Hollow alive. It all started with a post in a student chat. Historical monument restoration. Volunteers needed urgently. They attached a photo. An old wooden church, blackened domes, carved porch collapsed in on itself. Beautiful. Real antiquity. I'm studying architecture. These sites are my passion. Let's go, I told Andrew back then. Andrew Crawford, my best friend since freshman year. Broad-shouldered, cheerful, never pessimistic. He agreed immediately. We'll just bring Derek and Kate, he added. Derek can haul logs. He's built like a tank. And Kate? Well, Kate's our folklorist. She can record local legends. It'll be useful for her. Derek Wilson was our strongman, did strength training, spoke in a bass voice, and loved to repeat that there was no problem that couldn't be solved with a fist. Kate Morrison, quiet with big gray eyes and a perpetually disheveled braid, studied ethnography and carried a voice recorder everywhere. There were 4 of us. We left in an old SUV that Derek borrowed from his father. The drive took 8 hours. First highway, then country roads, then a track overgrown with grass up to the windows. The GPS showed we were driving through an empty field. The coordinates sent by the volunteer coordinator led nowhere. Are you sure we're going the right way? Kate asked when we passed the same broken birch cross on the roadside for the 10th time. I'm sure, Derek muttered, flooring the gas pedal. The map's old. Maybe the village was closed down long ago. We entered Bog Hollow just as the sun was setting. The village was exactly as I'd imagined. A dozen huts, sagging, with boarded-up shutters. Not a single living soul on the street. Only the church towered in the center, black as a charred skeleton. Creepy, Andrew drawled, then smiled. Awesome creepy. We climbed out of the car. The silence was so complete that the ringing in my ears seemed like a separate sound. No dogs, no roosters, no wind. Only our vehicle quietly whimpering with its cooling engine. Maybe we should find someone, I asked. Let the locals know we're volunteers? There's a light over there. Derek nodded toward the last house, where a weak light indeed flickered behind murky glass. We knocked. An old man opened the door, small, hunched, with a wrinkled face like a baked apple. He stared at us for a long time with cloudy eyes, then mumbled, "Leave, go away." We were sent to restore the church, I began, but the old man interrupted. Leave, I'm telling you. You're too young. You don't need to be here. Sir, we're volunteers, Kate stepped in. We have permission. The old man looked at her with a long, heavy gaze. Permission? Bah! He spat on the ground. Fools don't need laws. And this place isn't for fools. This place is for the dead. He slammed the door. We exchanged glances. The old man's lost his mind, Derek shrugged. Let's go check out the church. The temple turned out to be bigger than we'd seen from a distance. St. Nicholas, judging by the barely visible inscription above the entrance. Pre-revolutionary construction, I could tell by the wood. Century-old pine, dark with age. The doors were boarded up crisscross, but the boards had rotted and we easily slipped inside. The smell, my God, that smell. Damp earth, rotting wood, and incense. Yes, precisely incense, even after 100 years. But there was something else too. Sweet, nauseating. Kate wrinkled her nose. What's that smell? Probably mice, Andrew said, but without his usual smile. Inside, the church was devastated. The altar empty, the iconostasis stripped. Black soot stains on the walls. The floor had collapsed in places, and dark cellar space was visible through the holes. There was probably storage down there, Derek suggested, peering into one of the holes. I can hear water dripping. "That's not water," Kate said. "Water doesn't drip like that. It's like someone tapping their finger on glass." "Where would there be glass down there?" Derek snorted. "We decided to spend the night right in the church. We didn't want to set up tents, and inside it was dry and not so windy. We lit a small fire on the stone floor. There were plenty of wood chips lying around. We spread out sleeping bags right on the boards." "The locals sure are happy to see us," Andrew chuckled, chewing a sandwich with sausage and cheese. "Leave, leave. What, are they stingy or something?" "Maybe they have bad memories associated with this place," I suggested. "The revolution, dekulakization, or something worse." "In Slavic tradition, abandoned cemeteries are very dangerous places," Kate said quietly. "Especially old ones. Especially nameless ones." "There's a cemetery here?" Derek asked. "Right next to the church. When we walked by, I noticed a mound. Almost no crosses. Such graveyards are called paupers' fields. That's where they buried suicides, the unbaptized, sorcerers, all kinds of dark individuals, basically." "So what?" Derek took another bite of his sandwich. "The dead don't bite." We went to sleep. A sound woke me. Not a screech, not a knock. Something in between, like someone dragging a dry branch across glass. I sat up. The fire had almost gone out. Andrew slept nearby, muttering something in his sleep. Derek was snoring in the corner, and Kate was gone. I stood up, grabbed my flashlight. My heart was pounding somewhere in my throat. "Kate?" Silence. Only that sound, finger on glass. Now I heard that it was coming from under the floor, from the cellar. I approached the hole and shone my light down. The flashlight picked out dirty walls from the darkness, puddles on the earthen floor, and Kate. She was kneeling before something. "Kate, what are you doing? Come out of there. What are you even doing down there?" She turned around. Her eyes were open, but her gaze was absent, like a sleepwalker's. "There's a doll down here," she said quietly. "What? Did you manage to drink something?" "Kate, get out!" I climbed down to her. Maybe she'd twisted her ankle and fallen into the cellar? Derek also woke from the noise and climbed down after me. Andrew stayed up top. He always slept like the dead. It was cold and damp in the cellar. Kate pointed to a wooden shelf embedded in the wall. On it, covered with a layer of dust and cobwebs, lay a doll. It was a rag doll. I'd seen such things in museums. Cloth body stuffed with straw, twisted arms, clothing from scraps. But this one was different. First, it was large, at least 16 inches, maybe more. Second, it was old. Not just old, but ancient. The fabric had almost completely rotted. Rot was visible in places, but somehow the doll held its shape. And third, it had no face. Kate uncertainly reached out to the doll. She picked up the rag doll. It seemed to crumble in her fingers. The toy was so old. From beneath the rot of decayed fabric, wood appeared. A crudely carved small figure without eyes, without mouth, without nose. A smooth wooden surface on which someone had once scratched runes. I couldn't make out what kind, but Kate gasped hoarsely. "This is..." "What?" Derek asked, frowning. "These are ancient sealing signs. They're used to seal something inside. Or someone." "Come on, that's nonsense." Derek took the doll from her hands. "Just an old toy, a museum piece. We'll take it with us and turn it into the university later." "No!" Kate suddenly went pale. "Derek, put it back." "What are you afraid of? It's just some rag." He shoved the doll in his jacket pocket and climbed up. Kate looked at me with such horror that even I felt uneasy. "Elijah," she said with just her lips. "Did you see it has no face?" I saw. "This isn't a charm, this is a prison, and we just opened it." Upstairs, Andrew had woken up and was already stoking the fire. He didn't pay attention to the doll, laughed at Kate's fears, said it was natural for girls to believe in mysticism. Derek put the wooden doll in his backpack and immediately forgot about it. I fell asleep thinking that in the morning, we'd just leave. Didn't like the place. Oh well, we'd find another church. But in the morning, the SUV wouldn't start. The battery was dead. Derek lifted the hood and twisted something with the look of someone who felt guilty. The night was cold. It's old already. I'll try to fix it now. Go get some air. Walk around. How long? I asked. Couple hours. Walk around, look at the local flora and fauna, and I'll tinker here in the meantime. We dispersed around the village. I went to the far huts. I wanted to talk to that old man. Maybe he had a phone or could charge the battery. Derek stayed by the car. Andrew wandered off somewhere with his camera. Kate sat by the church. The old man stood on the porch smoking a hand-rolled cigarette. Our car won't start, I said. And it won't. He released smoke into the sky. He won't let you go. Who's he? The old man was silent for a long time, then said, the one who lies under the graveyard, the guardian. He needs peace, and you're making noise here, so he woke up. We want to help, restore the church. The church, the old man smirked, and there was something terrible in that smirk. The church has nothing to do with it. The church is just a screen, a diversion. Beneath it is an old pagan shrine, from before the Christianization of Rus. They buried those who departed themselves, suicides, sorcerers, revenants. Then priests came and built a church to sanctify the ground, but they didn't sanctify it. They couldn't. What do you mean they couldn't? Just what I said. The priests died one after another, some by noose, some in ice holes, some just, their hearts stopped, and that was it. Only one survived. He came up with making the doll. Don't be surprised that a priest resorted to this. If God didn't help them, then you have to talk to other forces. So the doll, he locked that spirit in it so it wouldn't get out. My hands went cold. A faceless rag doll like that? Where is it now? I don't know. 100 years have passed. Maybe it rotted completely, or maybe... We found it, I said quietly, in the cellar. The old man dropped his cigarette. Found it? His voice became thin like a child's. Found it, and what? Brought it into the house? Not exactly, to the church. Church, house, doesn't matter. What matters is that you opened it. He stood up, grabbed my arm. His fingers were ice cold, surprisingly strong. Run, boy, before it gets dark. Run on foot. It's about 20 miles to the highway. Maybe you'll make it. I can't. I won't abandon my friends. You will, the old man said, or they'll abandon you themselves. You woke him up. Now he won't let you go. The old man hobbled away. I stood for a bit watching him go, then returned to the church. Derek was still fiddling with the car. Andrew sat on the porch looking at his phone. No signal. Kate sat on the floor inside the church, clutching in her hands the wooden doll we'd pulled from the rag doll. I looked at the signs, she said without raising her eyes. They didn't just work as a lock. Apparently, it's a name. Whose name? The one who must not be named. In pre-Christian tradition, they believed that if you knew a spirit's name, you could control it. But the name can't be read by just anyone, only the one who created the doll. So what do we do? Kate raised her eyes. Tears were streaming down her cheeks. We need to leave. Right now, urgently, even on foot, before he fully wakes up. At that moment, Andrew, who had come into the church for his flask, suddenly stopped. Did you guys hear that? What? I asked. Laughter, guys. There's laughter out there. We froze. Silence. And then, yes, indeed, laughter came from the forest, but somehow wrong, like someone who doesn't know how to really laugh. Kids playing somewhere, Derek said uncertainly, shrugging. 20 miles from the nearest village? Kate asked. In a forest where there isn't a single child? The laughter repeated, now closer. Now it sounded not from the forest, but from somewhere near the graveyard. Who's there? Andrew shouted. No one answered him. Derek shuddered and backed away. Guys, we really need to get out of here. This isn't funny anymore. There are no kids here. Some fucked up shit is happening. We should have listened to the old man. Let's turn around and get out while we can. Let's pack up and leave immediately, Kate sniffled. It's night out, Derek. Where will we go? The car's dead. How will we walk? I sighed and spat at my feet. So here's what we'll do. We'll spend one more night here, and tomorrow, as soon as it's light, we leave immediately. We'll get the car later. We'll come back in a working vehicle, fix it, and take it. We can leave things we don't immediately need in it. We'll only take essentials. Can't carry much anyway. Andrew was quiet for a moment, thinking. Sounds like a reasonable plan. Listen, maybe we should sleep outside? The church is stressing me out. Right, Andrew. Let's sleep on the graveyard. That's obviously calmer than in a church. Nothing's stressing me out, Kate snapped, having already calmed down. At least here we can hide. There are walls and a roof. Andrew flared up. What's the point of these walls and roof? All the windows are blown out and the door doesn't close worth shit. There's nothing even to prop it with. In an open area, there's no element of surprise, you idiot. At least no one can sneak up on us. But here, who knows what could be hiding? And when we're sleeping, it could kill us all. But we'll hide in the church. They won't notice us here, Kate persisted. Everyone who could have already noticed us. Okay, stop. Break, guys. Derek stood between them. I agree with Andrew. Elijah, what do you say? I hesitated, then looked guiltily at my friend. I probably agree with Andrew. We should get away from here. We'll leave the doll in the church. Maybe we'll get lucky and everything will be fine. Derek exhaled. All right then. We'll take tents and sleeping bags and get the hell out of here. That's what we decided. Andrew was thinking correctly, actually. Derek supported him, and I held the same view. Kate resisted because she was scared. We chose a spot with good visibility, settled in, hastily ate, and quickly went to sleep. We decided to take turns keeping watch all night, making sure no one approached our camp. Kate volunteered to take the first watch, but leaving her on guard duty was a huge mistake. She fell asleep shortly after us. I woke to Derek screaming, and not just screaming, but shrieking so loudly I nearly died right there in my tent. Just a couple moments later, I realized I would have been better off dying of a heart attack right then and there. I tumbled out of my sleeping bag and fell out of the tent, and then my gaze locked onto an incredibly tall, pale, and completely naked female figure. She was ashen white, emaciated. Thin, tangled gray hair hung like dirty gauze. The creature had an unnaturally wide mouth. It seemed like she could swallow a large watermelon in 1 second. From deep in her throat came some kind of sound, either clicking and squealing or that same laughter we'd already heard. Her eyes glowed like two bright little flashlights. And then a second later, I suddenly understood why Derek was screaming so hysterically. She had grabbed my friend by the legs and was dragging him somewhere into the darkness. He kicked frantically, resisting as hard as he could. When the thing raised its claw and with one clean motion ripped Derek's abdomen from diaphragm to groin, he screamed even louder, then wheezed, gurgled. Blood poured from his gaping mouth. Then Kate started screaming. She saw it too. The girl pressed herself into a corner of her tent, shrieking hysterically, just like Derek had seconds ago. The woman-like monstrosity unhurriedly approached her flimsy shelter. It reached in, and I heard Kate scream even louder. The thing slowly lifted my girlfriend up. This bitch was holding Kate by the head. She simply wrapped her fingers around her head and lifted her up to eye level, and then made a sharp movement, a crunch. She turned her hand. That beast twisted her neck. The giant froze, carefully watching as her bulging eyes glazed over, as Kate's consciousness quickly faded. While the creature was absorbed in watching the cooling body, Andrew burst out of the opposite tent. He ran as fast as he could, tried to escape, but it didn't work out. Andrew's foot caught on something, twisted, and he fell heavily to the ground with a short cry of pain. The monster dropped the body and quickly caught up to him. I saw how the lanky creature opened its mouth wide and literally began to bite into the face of the thrashing Andrew. I could still hear my friend's muffled screams mixed with the disgusting chewing sounds of the creature. I saw blood pouring from its maw and chunks of skin and flesh falling to the ground. Andrew's voice suddenly cut off and his body went limp. But the horrible thing wasn't in a hurry to let him go. On the contrary, it literally began to eat him, slowly consuming him, stretching its maw to an impossible degree. The crunch of my friend's bones brought me back to reality, and realizing I'd be next, I bolted wherever my eyes led me. I crashed through trees and bushes, but something made me look back. The unknown horror had already turned toward me and looked, as it seemed to me then, straight into my soul. From that gaze, my legs gave out and I stumbled. But the adrenaline was doing its job. Without even noticing, I got up and continued running, literally coughing up my lungs. The thing watched for several seconds, then dropped the gnawed body of my friend to the ground and quickly strode in my direction. From its soul-tearing, horrible howl, my heart nearly stopped, but I kept running. I had no other choice. I heard its approaching footsteps, heard how it too was crashing through bushes, how dry branches snapped under its feet. I ran like that until my strength completely left me. My legs gave out and I collapsed to the ground, greedily gulping air. And only when I opened my eyes several seconds later did I realize it was already light around me. Sunlight was breaking through the thick forest. Birds were singing all around. No one was chasing me, otherwise I would have joined my friends long ago. Only when I finally caught my breath did that same consciousness-disturbing howl of the horrible creature reach me from somewhere far away. It was as if it reminded me that everything that had happened was real, and I was just lucky to have lasted until dawn. I survived completely by chance. I don't know whether to rejoice about this or be saddened by it. I don't remember how I got to the main road, how I caught a ride. I don't remember how I explained to the police what happened in Bog Hollow. The police and arriving medics decided we'd been attacked by a wild animal, presumably a bear. Naturally, my life will never be the same again. I'm trying to rehabilitate myself, convince myself that my apartment is safe and that horrible thing won't come to me at night. I'm trying, but so far I'm not doing very well.